Hey guys, welcome back to the Mike Rosehart Show. We're live again for another episode. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about real estate, about, stock investing, where things are in the world, economically speaking. We've had, I believe, the best run on bonds in almost 50 years, the strongest month in bonds. So the last month after the last FOMC meeting, the market, the NASDAQ, has since rallied almost 15%. So there's been like a crazy straight up for like 30 days straight, just straight up every single day. Tech is just, in my opinion, overvalued, but the market is just pricing in the Fed's going to drop rates up into, we're talking probably Q1, Q2, they start dropping things. I think that's too soon. Though there's a lot of pain in the world, I'd like to see them stay a little higher for a little longer. And, a lot of people said 2023, I think 2024 is the sweet spot. And once they start lowering rates, inflation will come back somewhat. And of course, with that, real estate prices will rip. That's just how it's going to be. As rates fall, real estate rises. It's just exactly inverse. And there's been a lot of pent up demand, people who want to buy that can't. And so that's definitely coming, and that's in the pipeline. I think the bottom is near. And I think that there's definitely an opportunity for those of us who take advantage of this bottom to make a lot of money in the next bull run. Because the truth is this, right? Inflation is persistent. It is difficult to get rid of. And they, in fact, target a 2 to 3% inflation rate every year. And so if they're targeting inflation to happen, what do you want to do? You want to buy assets with leverage. You want to borrow money, because the real cost of borrowing money is the interest rate you're paying less the current inflation and future inflation equals the real amount that you're actually paying. And so if you're borrowing at 4 or 5% and inflation is really 4 or 5%, you're paying nothing. You're borrowing zero. The bank is giving you their money for free. And so when you lever up and do that 4 to 1, then that's where real estate gets really, really sexy, because it's non-callable debt. You do this with stocks, or you do this with, callable debt. They'll call your debt and they'll take it from you at the bottom. At the worst possible time, they'll liquidate your shares. I have a short right now on the NASDAQ. Again, I'm not really emotionally invested now. I'm trying not to be anyway. I'm trying to close that out and not look at that. But it's like things are overvalued. And if I'm wrong for long enough, it's hard to predict the future. It's hard to know exactly where things are going to go in the short term. The fluctuations are, as Warren Buffett says, it's impossible. And he's never met someone ever who's been good at predicting where the market is going in the short term. And if Buffett has never met someone, and Munger, who just died, rest in peace, at 99 years old, if they've never met anyone in their investing career that's effectively good at predicting the future, no one can do it. Not you, not me. None of us know in the short term. Now, over long-term trends, it's very, very easy to figure out where things are going to go. You can look at macro data and you can decide over a long period of time where it's going to be. And the answer is up, always, over the long period of time, right? We know that with an absolute degree of certainty. In fact, the government prints money and creates inflation to the point where they want things to go up all the time. Because again, they can print their way out of debt. The good thing is, if you have a lot of debt against really strong assets that cash flow positive and service the debt for you, and it's non-callable debt, meaning they can't call the debt back on you, good to go. Good to go. Yeah. So, okay. Hey, David, how you doing? Hello from Alberta. I purchased some Intel stock back when you mentioned it in the dip. What do you think of it trading at $45 currently? I think I was calling out a year ago almost now. We're talking 11 months ago. I was calling out buying Mark Zuckerberg's Meta shares. I bought Facebook, basically. They call it Meta now. But we were buying those at $90 a share, and I unloaded my shares at $120 a share. It's now, almost triple the bottom there last year. So, that's really gone for a run, to the point of it was a value stock. I thought Meta was a value stock. I thought I actually was quoted a year ago saying they should start charging for the platform. People would pay it. I pay it. I pay a monthly subscription fee for Instagram. No problem. $20 a month. I would happily pay that. Right. And so they did that. They started charging people for the premium service and the premium, features. And it's that's what they should have done. And they did that, and they're cash flow machine. Great company. I like Intel as well. They're getting to a point where I probably wouldn't own shares, but again, it could keep running for a while. It's hard to call a top. It's also hard to call a bottom. But in general, I would say that their price to earnings seems a little bit frothy. It seems like the best case scenario is going to play out, and it might not. Or it might not play out exactly linearly. We may, as an example, start dropping rates and get a bad inflation report or two in a row that are really high. and we got a high core inflation reading of 5 or 6% because we dropped rates and things got frothy again and people got excited. And all of a sudden, they're like, the Fed's back to dropping pain on the world, right? Maybe war escalates and gets worse. Maybe some new pandemic, right? Anything can happen. It's more likely, though, that I think they're going to drop rates too soon, provide relief for people, and that's going to bite them in the ass in one of these inflation reports. And we're going to have a really bad month in the next. I think February is going to be a bad month for the NASDAQ, but I don't know. You know what? We're in an AI bubble, and the last .com bubble, it roared up even more than we've roared now. The NASDAQ's up, what, 48%, 47% year to date right now, something like that. That's insane. A 47% up year is insane. That, to me, when inflation is, 5-6%, rates are 7-8%, we shouldn't have that kind of froth. But again, the market is saying AI is going to change the world, and it might. It very well might. I just don't think it's going to be right away. I think it's going to take time for those efficiencies and those, savings to pass down to the bottom line, right? It takes time, and it's not instantaneous. And I think that people are overvaluing and overpaying for what is current, and so I think there should be more of a risk premium associated with stocks right now. And last month, I was quoted on here saying I think bonds were a good deal. Bonds have fallen 1% now. We've seen like 20% pullback on the rates, right? So that's bond yields are falling right now like crazy. Mortgage rates are falling like crazy right now. That's starting to stimulate the market a little bit. I think we're going to have a really, really hot spring. I think it's going to be a really bad winter again next year. What I think is that we're going to have a bottom right about now. I think the bottom is coming into the end of December, seasonally at horrible time. No one wants to buy, et cetera, so forth. So this is like prime time for really bad, really a lot of pain. And then we're going to have a rip, I think, into the spring, and then we're going to have another trough. But I don't know if we go that much further down than we are now. So when I made the title of this video, A Bottom, not The Bottom, because we may bottom again next winter, but I don't think we'll be going that much deeper than we're going right now in this bottom. And it's possible that with the rip that we get next spring and into the summer, that the gains we get this year, this spring, the Ontario market ripped 15% up and then 17% down. It could be another 10 or 15% rip up and then 10% down. So we're higher next winter than we are now. So I say a bottom, not the bottom. And again, hard to predict. But seasonally speaking, the bottom should fall in the winter. Specifically in Ontario, especially in Ontario, it should fall in the winter. So that's just something to think about and be cognizant of. It's, David says, loving the hair, bro. Thank you. Been growing it for some time now, but enjoying the long hair, and why not? Someday I'll probably lose my hair, so it's nice for now I'm just letting it grow, and I'm enjoying it. So thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. I wash it almost twice a week, so don't put much effort into it, but I have been enjoying letting the hair just be what it will. I don't even brush it every day, so this is the natural flow, and hopefully it leads to cash flow. David says, if you had to invest in real estate all over again in this current market with minimal capital, what would your strategy be, and how would you grow your portfolio to earn what you're earning now? So I would probably have started with leveraging people, leveraging relationships, and doing deals in JV partnership to start. But let's just pretend that you didn't have anyone, you didn't want to make any connections, you didn't want to partner with people. You don't do it by yourself. It'll take longer, but you could definitely do it by yourself. You take the 60 grand, you could go into a small tertiary market like small towns with 5,000 people in Ontario, drive 30 minutes outside of Sarnia or London into like some Hickville. You can find fixer-uppers that are, like as an example, I have a house in Inwood. Inwood's between Sarnia and London. It's about halfway between Sarnia and London. We bought this house, we renovated it. It's a 5-bedroom detached 2-story house with a shitty garage. It's ready to fall down, but the house is fine. 5-bedroom house, you rent it for $2,400 a month. I have it listed right now for 239 grand. So that's a 1% real property, as an example. Be a great, easy, turnkey type property. But if you find something like that needed work, like before we put a brand new bathroom in and floors and paint and kitchen. But before we did all that, if you bought that property for like 180, 170, that needed some work, put in the sweat equity yourself, spending very little, just doing a lot of the work yourself. You could very easily refinance that at 250 at 80% loan to value. The bank will put a mortgage on it and pull out all your money and have no money in that deal. Now you have a property that's cash flow positive, even with the new mortgage on it, and none of your money in the deal. You've refinanced out all your original capital. So that's how I'd probably take on my first few deals. And if I wanted to invest in a bigger market, I'd start in a tertiary market that's smaller, where the deals are really low priced with good cap rates, and I'd grind it. Like in those small markets, you're going to have issues of like, it's hard to find a tenant. It's hard to keep places rented, all those challenges of a really, really small market. But that's going to allow you to get into that market and just start, right? So there is definitely a way to do it. And the last part of your question was, how would you grow your portfolio to earn what you're earning now? Years. It took me a decade, more than a decade, to build what I have now, right? And I took time off throughout that period as well, where I didn't go as hard. I had a couple projects at a time. I had other times where I had 20 renovations going at one time, 20 properties under renovation. So I've gone hard and I've gone less hard during various phases of my 11-year journey with real estate. But when you JV, definitely make sure you do your contracts properly, register on title. I got burned before with people I didn't know doing partnerships, so don't do that. I worked on properties for free, and that was amateur. I would never do that again. Definitely want to secure your interest for sure. Super important to do. And then as far as like, if you can find someone who has capital and you don't, and you have energy to put in, they have time, or you have a skill, if you put in time, eventually you'll build a skill. If you don't know how to analyze properties now or find deals or get connected into that, in time, you'll build that skill, right? So that's where I would start, is building skills. And yeah, good luck with it. Let me know how it goes. Shazam says, good deal in Daytona Beach, Florida. Definitely. I got a couple deals there. I do have investments in Daytona Beach. Yep. Hit me up. Got a couple of hotels there under contract. So hit me up. Multifamily stuff. Definitely always looking for, the right kind of partners. And if you are the right kind of partner, let's chat. To me, that means someone who's got some significant capital. I don't really want to work with someone who's got like $100,000 or small amount. It's just not worth it for me. But Grinder says, hey, I hope you're well. Would you buy turnkey duplex, triplex, given increased material and labor costs, or would you do it yourself? It's interesting, Grinder. There's actually been some interesting listings I've seen lately where the beat up properties are selling at not that much of a discount when compared to, some of the turnkey stuff. Something that's really nice. And it's like, it's not that much more. And when I back out how much it actually costs today, do the renovation labor, do the material costs, a lot of these folks are underestimating how much it costs to do the work. Or they're like, oh, my dad will do the work, or my uncle will come in and renovate for free, and we value our labor at zero. And so when the market starts valuing labor at zero or much lower than it is, I think there's a disconnect there. And some people are overpaying for their fixer-upper projects. And yeah, there is actually opportunity right now, especially right now. There's not a lot of buyer demand where you can get in and negotiate on really good turnkey stuff. So yes, buying turnkey can make a lot of sense right now. Looking at $150,000 new build in Alberta, will pay 12 to 15%. I don't understand. Are you looking to lend? Okay. Thanks for posting. Mike says, or John says, hey, how you doing? Hope all is well with you. Hope all is well with you as well. Thank you for the comments. Randy says, hey, Mike, how much of a disadvantage is it not to have construction experience? Well, again, Randy, it depends on the types of projects you're taking on, but if you're taking on massive flips, that could be a big disadvantage. I feel limited in my turnkey or new builds. What key pieces of construction do you feel every investor needs to know? I think understanding construction is important, because for you to be able to negotiate with the contractors, you have to understand the work that they have to do. Like when a guy comes in and tries to be a slick, quoter and say, hey, it's 10 grand for this job. I'm like, dude, this is the steps you have to go through. I have the knowledge. You don't have anything to offer other than the labor. And so I find a contractor who understands that I already have the knowledge, so you can't charge me triple for the knowledge. A lot of contractors will do that. Like, you're not paying me for this job. You're paying me for the 10 years of experience that I have to do this job. And it's like, they can take advantage of you, is my point, if you don't know, right? Like, there's sometimes a better way to do things too. And you can instruct your subcontractors a better way to do something, right? There's certain process to things. As an example, like, I've seen amateurs put flooring down and then paint. And it's like, man, why did you do it in that order? That's so stupid. Now your floor's gonna get destroyed. Or as an example, like, I've seen people be doing, like, a lot of contractors are doing taping and mudding, and they'll be doing a room and they'll do another room. And they're starting to paint the other room, and they're still taping the other room, and they're going back and forth. And I'm like, that is not the way that you do construction. You do each phase to the full finish, because you don't want dust in your paint. And it's just not efficient to switch tasks like that. A lot of contractors jump around. You don't want that. There's a certain process to how you build a building, how you renovate a building. There's certain things you have to do in certain orders. And I think the best way to build that experience is through going through the process. There are good YouTube videos you can watch, but the best way, I think, is to, on your first project, GC it yourself, general contract it yourself. So bring in the flooring guy, bring in the painter, bring in the taper to do the money and taping. Bring in the electrician, bring in the plumber, bring in each of your sub trades and learn how it goes together and coordinate the whole thing. You be the general contractor. And that's the best way to learn. And ask a lot of questions. I was on site all the time. I would get off work at like 6 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock, and I would go right to my rental property. I'd have my contractor there to meet me, and I'd work with him. I'd hand him materials, I'd go get him stuff, or I would stand there with him and hand him tools, or he would get me to do one thing and he would do something else at the same time. But I learned by doing, and that required me to like literally spend, oh, sorry, I didn't charge my phone, guys, before this stream, so might be cutting it a little short. I was on the phone literally all day. I've been on phone call after phone call after phone call all day with like lenders and due diligence on deals, and I'm looking at some new deals in my pipeline, and talking to partners and stuff like that. So just a lot of things going on today. And so sorry if my phone dies. I just plugged it in, but it's at like 5% battery, and this kills the battery pretty quick. I don't think it'll catch up because the charger I have is this crappy, not Apple charger, and they, I think, purposely throttle the charging on those types of devices. So hopefully we get another 20 minutes out of this thing. But yes, I put in for 7 years, probably 70 hours a week, while working a full-time job. So my weekends and evenings were like, my weekend was the property. I'd get up a Saturday at 7 in the morning and I'd be there till midnight, and I go home, sleep, and that was it. And I lived and breathed that, and that was how I got the experience. And then I think even a year of doing that, you can get most of what you need, right? At a high level view. I probably spent too many hours in the weeds just trying to save money and, doing painting myself and framing myself. And like the guy wouldn't show up to frame, and one of the guys shows up and he's like, oh, I can't work. And it's like, well, no, the project needs to get done. I've got the property rented out for the end of the month. Like, let's go. I'll help you frame it. Or like, you know what I mean? Just filling in because people are shitty humans. And that's construction. When you work in the construction business, you're going to learn that people are shit in the construction business. All the guys that are decently priced are unreliable, do bad quality work. One of the three, either, unless you pay a lot of money, in which case you'll get good quality and good reliability, but then your project will be over budget, and there's no point in you doing the project to begin with, because you're going to pay the top dollar trades. You'll probably end up just losing money on your project. Like I would do basements for 40 grand, and I got contractors to come in and quote them at 120. And I'm like, man, I can do that for a third. You're 3 times the cost. And if the value to the property was, you do a basement, you get $120,000 in value add. If you spend $120,000 after carrying costs, you lose money. So a lot of these flippers are doing deals where they're hiring the best contracting. Like the best contractors go work in residential, and they do like high-rise construction and stuff like that. But residential is the best because you go in and do a kitchen for 50 grand and it's so juicy. Your material's like 10 grand. You have 40,000 in profit. Or you do a bathroom for like $25,000. I could do a bathroom for like $5,000. Like the actual cost of a tub, a shower, a tile guy for $800 to come in and tile it. Like there's not that much that goes into it, but you can charge the homeowner a lot of money because they get just what they want, custom, luxury. Anyway, in the real construction world, most of the guys you're dealing with are like ass to mouth, drugs, drinking. And by ass to mouth, I mean you pay them Friday and they don't show up Saturday, Sunday because they were waiting for that pay to come in to deal with some life issue that they got going on. That's just so common in the trades, unfortunately. A lot of them are alcoholics. A lot of them are, and not the weed's a big deal, but like some of them are on harder stuff too, right? Like a little bit stuff. So that's very common in the construction industry, unfortunately. It's just the nature of construction workers. A lot of them aren't good with money. They don't know how to manage a budget. They spend money as it comes in. And that's just that type of person, that rough, person that's really great at construction, that's strong and able to do the work and often grew up working with their hands, isn't so great with working with a computer or with budgeting and stuff like that. So it's just the nature of the person. I'm generalizing, but like that was something that like going from the white collar world, because I was working in white collar, dealing with like professionals with integrity, to working in construction. It was like the first time I got held up by gunpoint by a contractor for extortion, or like just a different world out there with the bottom of construction. If you haven't been threatened yet, then you probably haven't really experienced proper construction. The threats are normal. Like you often get threats, and it's a battle because as project manager, your job is to drive costs down while delivering a good quality project. And their job is to milk you for as much as possible and do the least amount of work. And if they make mistakes, to not own up for them. So you got to grind them like, hey, this happened. Here's the mistake. The next trade coming after you can't do their job because you fucked this up. And that's confrontation, but that's part of, the project management, right? You have to deal with those conflicts. So if you're the type of person who doesn't have thick skin and can't have those conversations, like I know some investors that would call me and be like, Mike, I hired a guy to do this work, and like we didn't agree on a price. Like, what? He's like, yeah, I got him to start doing the work, get it done, And like, he sent me this bill for like $20,000. I'm like, you have to negotiate before he does the work. And he can't just charge you whatever he wants. And it's like, well, we didn't have a conversation about price properly. And so it's not documented. Like, what do I do? And this person's like, I'm going to lean your house. I'm going to come and like beat you up. And like, that's what they do. They text you shit. Like, I'm going to come beat the shit out of you. That's the construction world. The guy comes and punches you in the face unless you pay him. That's just the world, right? And a lot of these guys are rough and tumbling. They've been having a few drinks and they don't have money to go do the white collar way, which is like serve and go to court and like do it properly. And so it's, yeah, I mean, it's a rough world out there. It's a shitty business. Construction is the shittiest part of real estate. I hate it. I'm excited to do less of it. And as you elevate and as you get bigger, you deal with less and less of the hacks and more of the pros. And you pay a premium for that, and you have to just try to build that into your projects. So that's what I've kind of learned in the last decade, I guess. But yeah, no more $20 an hour construction guys, because you get when you hire those guys, they don't show up. And when they do show up, they bring their drama with them. So what do you think of doing seller financing? He says, have a deal with the seller. Seller financing is so key right now. Creative financing in general is so important right now. You can negotiate some amazing deals, or maybe you're paying the asking price that they want, but you've negotiated in a ton of other kickbacks, like a 3% seller finance and et cetera, so forth. One of the deals I'm doing right now on one of the hotel project conversions is a 3% seller financed. It's like, how do I lose with 3% seller financing? It's a fantastic project. So I'm excited to get that one underway. Ghost Recon says, hey, Mike, what do you think of doing seller financing? Same question. Sorry, I reread that same question there, but I love it. I think seller financing is fantastic. It can make or break a deal that maybe isn't good, becomes good when you put very little down. Sometimes deals you don't have to put very much money down, and then the ROI becomes fantastic. Imagine you can control a $3 million building for like 300 grand down. That's amazing. Imagine controlling a $3 million asset that can produce all this cash flow for you with 300 grand down. That's possible right now. It's not possible in a bull market. No one in a bull market is going to give you 90%, loan to value seller financing. But right now, some of these guys, they're retiring. They're just tired of the bullshit. They had a really bad tenant who trashed a unit. They got in a fight with their property manager. Their wife's pissed. They're on the edge of divorce. And they're like, the market isn't strong. So when all this stuff happens and you put it on the market and there's no offers, just crickets, you get in there and say, hey, look, I'll take this property off your hands. I'll give you what you want for it, but you're going to have to provide the seller financing for me. I'll put you money in your pocket every month. Right now you're losing money. Your property's a mess. I'm going to come in. I'm going to stabilize this asset for you. I'm going to make it run smoothly like clockwork and put money in your hand. And they're like, oh, that sounds a lot better than what's currently happening. I'm going to start making more money because you've repositioned their asset to make more money out of it. They don't have the time to deal with that. Their asset's losing money right now. One asset in one person's hands, totally different. That same asset in someone else's hands. Maybe I can go in and furnish it and rent it out on a monthly basis as a furnished rental, bring in 40% more revenue. Maybe I can do a few small strategic renovations and jack up the rent roll 30, 40%. Maybe I can drive costs down by doing, replacing a furnace or a boiler system. Small stuff like that can have huge impacts on negotiating insurance rates down, et cetera, so forth. So the creative financing and the terms of your deal are often more important than the price. So think about that, especially now. The reason now it's so important is because you can take 20, 30 days going back and forth because there's no one else at the table negotiating with you. In a hot market, the property sells like that. He puts up for $3 million, he's in a divorce, doesn't matter, someone still pays cash for it and takes the deal. But in this market where people can't get financing, cash is tight, liquidity is king, now you can get in there and negotiate some really juicy terms. So I want to get a few of those juicy seller finance deals in during this time, because once the market gets hot again, as rates fall, they're really hard to find. So take advantage of it, guys. We're in a great trough right now. Florida versus Northern Ontario, which is better to invest in. They both have their pros and cons. I'm investing in both. How would you flip a home if you live 3 hours away from it and it was your first project? David, that'd be a challenge. You'd want to be scheduling time to be checking in on the work, make a bigger budget for sure. You're going to have to hire someone like a property manager or your realtor to come in and check on the project, check on how the renovations are going, take videos for you, FaceTime you, et cetera, so forth. So build in a project management cost of like, say, 10% of the budget of the renovation. If it's a $50,000 renovation, put $5,000 aside to pay someone just to check on the work and to coordinate what's going on with the current construction. I would say, for me, when I'm not in a project, I have to add 30 or 40% because that's how much I drive in value when I'm project managing. And that's been hard for me, is like realizing that when I step away and I outsource something to a general contractor, they're 40 to 50% worse at delivering value than I am. They don't go and shop the sale. They just go buy drywall at Home Depot. They go buy tile. They bring it to the site. They're paying their contractors 20, 30% more because they want guys who are reliable and show up, and they don't want the bullshit. And if you pay really well, you get no bullshit, but then your project cost goes up. So it's like, do you want a really good cost and a lot of profit and no bullshit? And lots of bullshit? Or do you want not a lot of profit, but no bullshit? And a lot of the guys are like, I don't care. Pay my guy $50 an hour. I don't want any bullshit. And that's fine. Like, that can work. You can build that into your budget, but just the margins are just slimmer when you do it that way. That's okay. Just negotiate better deals, I guess. What's a great way to find juicy deals? They're all over the place. Go to MLS right now. There are juicy deals on MLS right now. Stuff that's stale. It's just sitting there. You'd be surprised. I think it's better on MLS right now. There are some off-market deals that kind of no one else has heard about that are exclusive. Look for those. Talk to agents. The more agents you can talk to, a lot of the commercial stuff trades hands behind closed doors. Just Joe calls Sally. Joe calls Bill. Bill knows Joe because they know each other. They put the deal together. It never hits the market. No one ever heard about it. That kind of stuff happens. Those are miracles. And that's networking. And you need to have that put together in a network. You need to be calling people. And they need to know that you're serious enough that you can get a deal done, right? So, Will, how you doing? Quentin says, I find a lot of sellers are stuck in last year's pricing, not willing to budge. So true, which is why you're going to have to throw out 20 offers to get one that sticks. And you might have to get creative with it. You might have to get in there at asking price, go do a home inspection, show them all the shit that's wrong with their property, and then beat them down on price. They may not take your first offer. They may say, I'll never sell for that. But you lock them up and you tire them out. You put them under contract at a higher price with a condition. You don't even want to buy the property at this price, but now you have that locked up. Now you go and do a home inspection, you bring up all the problems, and maybe you go to them and say, hey, look, I want a rate buy down. My mortgage is 7.5%, buy it down to 3%. And I'll waive conditions, I'll deal with all the bullshit. Here's the home inspection report, it's horrible. This is what's wrong with your property, blah, blah, blah stuff. Tire them out. They've already spent a month with you going through the home inspection, you're collecting documents from them. You've tired them out. They don't want to go through that again with another seller. They value their time. And so most people will be like, they'll just capitulate. Like, was another person going to bring me $50,000 more, but then I have to go through a maybe. They might close, they might not. This guy's for real. He's going to firm up. He's been through home inspection. This is what he's asking for. Fine, I'll just go with his offer. It's easy. So there you go, guys. How do you pay your taxes when you sell a property that's under a JV partner? So it depends on how you set up your structure. Your JV partner could claim half of it to your corp that owns it, and your corp will claim your half. For tax return purposes, they don't have to match what is showing on the actual title of the property. So title could be held 100% in a trust, 100% in Joe Blow's name, and Joe Blow shares half of his return with your corporation or with you personally. There's lots of ways to split it, but however you split in your tax return, make sure it is legal. Obviously, I'm not recommending like tax evasion or whatever, but like claim it as it is in your tax return. That is one way to do it for sure. It's just split title one way and split the tax consequences the way that it actually is. Because I know it's very often in real estate that one guy will hold title because they can qualify for the mortgage, and then they'll share half the profit with their JV partner who brought the money or whatever else. And oftentimes the right way to do this is claim to the government exactly how you're actually splitting your profits. Would be my advice for you. But get an accountant's opinion because I'm not licensed to speak on any of this. Quentin says, if you're going to start again right now with nothing, how would your first 2 years look? Again, just grinding in the trenches, right? Like the knowledge that I have now, I would start locking stuff up under contract. I would start locking up amazing properties under contract. And I would just let the world know. I go to networking events. I get everyone's real estate eyeballs that I can, as many investor eyeballs as I can on what I'm doing. And say, hey, look, I got this property under contract, this property under contract. Someone is going to call me and say, wow, that's a great deal. How did you get that under contract with those terms? And then we'll start a conversation. Maybe I'll assign the property to them, get a profit. Maybe we'll partner up on the deal. If I'm starting fresh and I don't have money, I have to have knowledge and experience, which I do. So that's what I would leverage if I was starting again. If I didn't have that either, I would just start gaining that knowledge by throwing out offers. You've got to get into the trenches and start doing deals. It's the most important thing. The other thing is get a full-time job. If I started again, I'd probably start a full-time job doing something, probably wholesaling, because I have the experience in that. But if I was starting fresh and I didn't know what I know now, I was like a newbie in real estate, I'd probably go get work for a real estate brokerage or something in real estate. I wished I'd done that from the beginning rather than working in consulting, but here we are. Music says, hey, Mike, when asking a real estate agent for a deal, or houses on market do you ask for a type of seller? So the question you're asking is like, how do you approach an agent? So it depends on the agent, but in some cases, I would say the most important thing, or just in general, like the most important thing is be very specific with your buy box. Because everyone calls a realtor saying, I'm looking for a deal, I'm looking for a deal. Well, a deal to you is different than a deal to someone else, right? So understanding what a deal to you is, what kind of property do they bring you? Because they don't understand most of the agents don't know what a deal is, right? So helping them identify like, sorry, helping them identify what is a deal, right? Like, is it for you, does that mean you're looking for a duplex property at $100,000 a door? Or does that mean you're looking for a vacant property that can be converted to 3 units? Or does that mean you're looking for an 8 cap rate building or potential to be 8 cap rate building? Or does that mean like you gotta explain specifically what you're looking for? And it helps if you say the area and the type of house, because then they get the listing and comes to them and they see, I know Mike is looking for 10 to 30 units, meaning this price per door. They're gonna call me because they know it meets my parameters. And whereas if I said I'm looking for a deal, everyone says that. They're not gonna call me at all because everyone calls them and says I'm looking for a deal, right? I'm looking for an investment property. It's like, what does that mean? Does that mean a 10 unit? Does that mean a single family property? When you say single family, what does that even mean? There's so many different variants of single family in the same city. A West London property is totally different from an East London property, and like a Fanshawe student rental is totally different from a Western student rental, and like so on and so forth. A value add, they might not see the deal as a value add. So the way I approach it is I'm like, send me as much as you can. And I engage with them often. And you have to follow up. Your follow-up game has to be really, really good, because if you don't, you'll fall to the back burner. They're not even gonna think about you if you don't keep on top of mind with them, right? So yeah, I mean, this has been a live stream. Thanks, guys. My battery's gonna die, so I'm gonna have to end this stream after 32 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate it. And as always, you know where to find me at Mike Rosehart on Instagram and on Facebook. And yeah, if anything I can do to help make your guys' lives better, happy to do it. Come tune in every Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live. We chat about real estate, stocks. Really, at the end of the day, real estate is a division of the, I guess, mastery of personal finance, right? It's one arm of maximizing returns. But the secret is you've got to maximize the equation to build the life that you want. And I think that all comes down to managing your money, right? Yes, I'm going to say it. I say it you guys can say it for me if you want to, but spend less, earn more, maximize returns on the difference. And it really is, I say it because like when I first said it, it had never been said. I went on every blog, like no one had codified like the formula to building wealth. Is super, super simple. You've got to spend less than you make. You got to find ways to make more money. There has to be a gap there. And that gap goes to building net worth. And then that net worth has to maximize the returns on it. So there's 3 levers, 3 things you can do to control your financial future. That's it to build wealth. What you spend, what you earn, and the return on the net, on what it is that you have and your net worth. So that's it, guys. See you next week.